Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode of the Dream 80. We're on the 80 right now and we're in a food plot in the bottom, and as you can see, it is decimated. It looked like you came in here with a rototiller. It was knee-high turnips all fall. There was a lot of deer in here. There's a bunch of corn and turnips and soybeans up on the top side of this ridge, but when you look at a farm in the spring and are trying to decide, should I do more food plots, should I do more legumes, should I do more grain, should I do more fruit trees, mass producing trees, whatever it may be, you want to come in and look at what food was there. Look at the acorns that are on the ground. Is there any left? Look at a food plot, and if it's like this where the turnips were all dug out of the ground, all the foliage is gone, everything to eat in here that is food is 100% gone. As well as when you get into the timber, a lot of your cedar trees and or conifers, if they're trimmed up this high and really browsed, all your little hardwood trees that are coming in that are below 6 feet, if the ends are all nipped off of that, it's an old farmer trick that I was told a long time ago, that starving cattle in pastures are always nipping off the ends of every single piece of woody browse that's there. So when you go into a food plot situation or any agriculture and you see that there is just no food left whatsoever and you're in March before spring green up, that tells you that you do indeed need more food, or you need less deer. You can do some hinge cutting, open up some canopy, do some logging, really try to help so your deer population is not 100% based on food plots. So they have other things to eat and plant other residual opportunities there that are just going to come back year after year. But if your food plots look like this, they're completely rototilled and not a scrap of food left in March, you know that you need to go heavier on the food, and it gives us a really good idea of the deer numbers that are in this area, as well as how far we're attracting the deer from in the neighborhood, to see what recruiting takes place in the off season and over the course of these really hard Midwest winters. So some of the things that we're going to do to rectify that situation are plant more little bushes and shrubs and all that can be browsed on, more late hanging fruit that is going to drop into the winter, more mass production, late hanging acorns and chestnuts and all that, and where you just cannot get on top of it. I mean, there's farms that we leave 40-50 acres of standing food, and there's not any more area to put any food in. In some of those areas where it's legal, you really want to look into that. Make sure, one, that it's legal, and watch some videos on the topic of hurting the deer population by supplemental feeding with corn and high protein soybeans or pellets and supplemental feed sources, alfalfa bales. There's some really good information on the internet about how to supplemental feed and not stop and then start, to where it can do more harm than good. That can really be beneficial if you just cannot plant enough acres for that to be beneficial. Some of our habitat improvement projects in the future also include logging and getting more early successional growth, below chest height, so the deer can munch on that, as well as increased bedding habitat and planting other, like I said, mass producing, fruit producing, regenerative plants that are there annually, to where if you cannot grow corn or soybeans or fence your way through enough growing food plot and food on the farm, that you can just plant other things or do other things that are really going to help you out. Another good way to tell how much food you have is if you look at a cornfield and you pull back the ear, and let's say you have an agricultural field or a food plot that you're able to grow corn in. If you pull back the ear all the way and all the corn is gone, or it comes down the ear and there's still parts of that left, that tells you how stressed the deer and turkeys and pheasants and all that were to try to find any food. And granted, you want to look at that over the course of 2, 3, 5 years on an average. You might have a really easy winter, you might have a really good acorn crop, or you might have a really bad acorn or natural crop and a really tough winter. You don't want to use that as the gauge. You want to look at this over a couple-year average and really plan out what you're intending on doing to the habitat, to the food sources, to the timber, and look at it from an entire property perspective to see how you can get those deer and turkeys and animals that you're after on that property all the way until spring green up, when they have many other natural options to feed on.